week. Milestone, okay. We updated the roadmap. Demo Sipke, it was for the admin theme, Orchard 2, and we talked about it. Okay. Not this one. This, okay, status. Demos. Do we have any demos? That many people, so that doesn't help. Brett, any demo? Kidding. We can have some O2. One status. I'm not even. Yes, we have some merge pull request at least. I didn't check otherwise. Yes, we have also Sipke, which reverted this change that we discussed about last week. This was last week. Then Sipke reverted the change which was about renaming the prefix and suffix. So we decided to keep the old name prefix. It's a URL prefix. This one, setup recipe description mismatch. This is to automatically change the description on the setup screen when you switch recipes. It was not changing the description. So when you select from blog to core, it will explain what it is when you change the value. This one, layout editor BR tags. This is that. I think one BR tags. It was a pull request, but yeah, probably the BRs were not displayed correctly in the layout editor. And this one, this is a branch from Sipke. I think, yes, this is a branch from Sipke. Refactoring the HTML filters, because the main the body part is using some HTML filters, and the layout part is also using some other kind of HTML filters, so now they're using only one. Jean-Thierry made a change to them, and I think the goal is to target the dev branch because I think it's a breaking change, so it's work going on. Fix comments and Audit Trail issue. This one is related to not create transaction log when the comment is failing, by first updating it, and if the update works, then trying to create it. And it also changes the audit trail to support this new behavior. This one adding.
What was there before that created a log?
No, a log, a transaction log.
A log, all right. That's something. That's not an issue, not a big issue.
Nope. Yesterday it was national holiday in the US, but not today. People are recovering. But they're also joining late. I don't know. Yes, because not here. So warning notification. This is interesting. So the idea is that when you would enable Redis, if you didn't have correctly configured it in the web config, the provider, I mean, it would fail with an error message saying yes, it's failing. You need a configuration string. So what Jasmine has done is that now there is a notification provider for this setting, so that if you enable Redis and you don't have a connection string in your web config, it won't fail. It will just display a warning in the dashboard. So we created notification providers for all the Redis things like output cache, message bus, what else, tag cache, and handling the fact that there is no connection multiplexer available. Yep, so that's better. ReSharper support for the Razor View engine. Apparently, when you enable Razor, there is an issue with the, well, at least ReSharper doesn't support how we support views in Orchard, so we need to add something else in the discovery of the views for ReSharper. This one, p-task list init and task background timer after p-task. So this one from Jean-Thierry is the fact, I don't recall exactly, but I talked with him on Skype, that the processor engine will not be available or will be initialized 2 times at startup, and there needed to be some refactoring to be able to only run the tasks once. I think it was something like this. It all made sense and the solution was fine. It's on a dev branch, so we'll see if there is an issue. Or maybe it was related to the background task on startup, something like this. Following the bug should explain everything. Logical data, blah blah. Yeah, a background task could add an entry to the processing engine while it is evaluated in 3. Better processing engine and background task. You fix something. So, and all the tests pass, so that's fine. This one is a huge change in terms of lines, at least. This is support for the cloning event in the content handlers. So now, same thing for indexing or importing, there is a cloning, so that any driver can react on the clone and hence provide better cloning behavior. For instance, for the sorry, for the identity part or the alias, which won't do a dash copy but something more clever. And it also removes some specific code I assume from the content manager that was detecting the clone and changing some identities also. So this is better, and also implementing it in some drivers, you see, when it's necessary. Same thing, dev branch. I'd like to find a good example. Elias. Nope. You see this copy inside the content manager. So this is better to have a handler now. Okay. Zoltan, you will try it, I'm sure. You will have to, it's on dev branch.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And that's the last change. Yep. Questions on the changes? Just quick look at the issues and pull requests. So we trashed a bunch of them last Thursday. I merged some of the need sign-off, mostly the ones which were in targeting 1.10x, because they are not breaking and they are fine. Just wanted someone to test it. But if they are not testing for some long time and they are good to go, then I merge them. It forces people to test them because it makes it into the code. For the dev, well, no, sorry, not for the 1.10x, but for the dev branch, because we have more time to assess they are not breaking anything. For the 1.10x, if they have need sign-off, I really want the sign-off to be done because it's too critical. Yep. So feel free to test the need sign-off one because the code looks good, but we need someone else to ensure that it works correctly. So new PRs, we'll see them on Thursday. 6 new PRs this week. Interesting. Issues. Issues. In the last week, what did we get? Reference content part missing. I'm just doing that because we have time, just to have an idea of what's going on. Reference content part missing after using serialization. Yeah, the documentation is not up to date with what you should do right now, so I commented on that. Optional email fields and error when posting empty values. Okay. An issue with optional. Yes, if it's optional and there is no value, it will tell you it's not valid, but it should check if it's optional or not. So a simple issue. This one. Okay, so thank you, Zoltan, for explaining. Missing styles for sub and sup. Failed user logging attempts. Rob is suggesting that we log the last logging failed and the number of failed attempts.
This is supported by Audit Trail, right?
Audit Trail lets you see that, but you can't react to that. Like what he wants to do is a lockout feature, like in yep. And we talked with him on Thursday. I think maybe the solution would be to actually implement ASP.NET Identity, which supports that, because there's already a branch and or a task for implementing supporting ASP.NET Identity. But yes, you can already do that with also all the events we have and the workflow. So you can do a module that does that. Executing recipe shows success even if recipe fails, and there is a pull request. Okay. User needs to exclude elements in layout from being indexed. Okay. Okay, so a way to configure what is indexed or not, for instance, in the layout. And what I suggested, the body reacted to that, kind of like what was shown 2 weeks ago for the APIs, to be able to customize the APIs using placement. So, yeah, or maybe because Rob or Sipke also mentioned that, maybe Sipke, I think the idea of alternates for indexes. So what we could do is when we index, we could also try to display the content item using a specific alternate, not specific type because it needs to be detailed, I think. And then using placement or custom templates, what is displayed, what is indexed could be altered. And you could then work with it on layout or anything else. The indexing event to render a shape with a display type and add a layout element name as an alternate. The default template for this can then Shape morphing technique, yep, okay. Yeah, so the idea, you can still use a display type, like indexing display type, so you could do body part dot indexing, or dash indexing, can't remember, no, dot indexing, and but by default, the default implementation for content dot indexing will just render whatever is content. So there is a display type, but you don't have to override it. By default, it will render it as a content, at a standard content detail. So that will be a solution to customize what is indexed, like we saw again 2 weeks ago for the API. That's interesting. You could use placement. You can use to hide a specific part, or you can use custom templates, and just what is rendered using this template will be indexed. That's a good idea.
Well, that's not entirely correct using placement of the info, since these are element shape templates.
Oh, in this case, yes. Okay. Yeah, but okay, but
yeah, still the display type and alternate, that will work.
Yes, in a general thing, and then you can still use a template for the layout part. And as I said, with alternates based on the layout name or layout element, maybe, so you can define whatever you want. And if you have an alternate for a specific page, you can even decide, or a specific type, you can. So you could do content dash article dot indexing, even if article has a layout, or content dash page dot indexing. So you could decide in this thing what you want to index or not.
So add a bunch of alternates.
Yep. Otherwise, it's about having an option in each element for indexing. Yeah, why not? Indexing is first class in Orchard, so you could have that too. Do you want to index that? But then it's up to you when you render to not render this element. So, well, there are options, but that's a good idea. Overall inquiries at property level. Don't show data for some content items. Why not? But you could always. So, yeah, the issue is that it will. Yeah, okay. If there is a, why not? That's easy to do, and it doesn't impact performance because you only execute the rule if there is something in the rule. So that's fine. I will. Expand the question too. I think last time I asked who is using custom properties on queries, the custom property layout. Is anyone using it? How many of you are using the custom properties on the layouts for the queries? I never use them personally. I prefer to use a custom shape or custom display type and customize the shape so that I can render exactly what I want. So, and it's a lot of.
I've seen examples of it on our university Orchard course. Some people delve into the depth of this feature and actually use it. It's not too common, but there are a few people all the time who do this.
But so I remember when I implemented it, it's a lot of code and work, but it's not really used. I'm sure it's used by some, but it's not really used.
And also, it's not something that you can replace. Well, if you use shape, you could even use templates.
Yeah, as I said, you can usually use a specific shape or a display type to render your query, the item in your query, and then you use Razor directly. So it's a nice feature, but maybe it should be an optional feature that we can not. Orchard 1 is there in Orchard 1. It's been there since day one for this module, but for Orchard 2 we might think, okay, let's just render content items first and later make this a feature or a module to be able to have a customized pipeline UI based that we don't have to create a template to render content items, but that should be optional. But otherwise, this thing looks nice. It's a good idea for those who use it, sure. But then you want to display it to, that's also the issue. If you start doing things like this, like hiding something when there is a specific query which equals true, then you might want to do some placement also, because then you might want this one to be at the end, or I don't know. Well, you can already do placement with fields. This one, long discussion this morning from Sipke, make membership service dot validate password public. So I will talk for you, Sipke.
Thank you.
What he wants to do, requirement where the user is able to reset the password, but they are not allowed to use the last 3 passwords they used before. Okay, so he wants after 3, like save the last 3 passwords, and whenever you enter a new one, ensure that you are not using one of the last 3 passwords. So, like, make a method isUsePassword. I could do this by duplicating validate password. So what I was suggesting is create a new interface or extend an existing one as an event handler. So today we have user login, user logged in, user created, things like that. Maybe we could have user change password with what password was changed to. Okay?
Yeah, but where I what I don't understand is if a user changes the password, that new password needs to be compared to one of the previous. Well, how do you do that?
So what I'm suggesting is that you just save the hashed password in your DB, so you can rehash the new password to see if it matches the one of the last
using
3.
your own salt. I see.
Yes.
So you don't use that makes sense.
No, you don't need the what we have in the password table. You can
because I would
reproduce
be hashing it myself anyway based on the event being triggered when setting a password.
Yep. So you can hash it, salt it in your table, the last 3, and if it matches the salt and the salted password, then no, don't use it. And again, as I said in the comment, I don't know who defined the requirement, but I will agree, I don't know, the last 3 times. So if I want to, let's say I have password 1 and I want to reuse password 1. Okay, let's change it to password 2, again to password 3, again to password 4, and now I can reuse password 1. That was I want to hack the check. But that's not your issue. You're the dev, you obey. Okay, and so apparently you agree on this one, good. So we just need an event for that. And that's not a break-in change at all, just a new event. And if it's an event handler, then you don't have to implement the method. workContext.Layout.Metadata.Alternates didn't work for Orchard.Users. Yep, okay, interesting. Maybe related, I don't know, I need to think about it, but maybe related to what I will talk about on Orchard too. We'll see. Good questions. I won't go through the PRs. Sebastian. 6936. New issues while we were talking?
I just opened it,
2 of them?
No, only 1.
The number was 2, +2. MSBuild should be called with the /m switch. Isn't it a default? Or maybe it's a default in Visual Studio, but not in the command line.
Yeah, I believe so. No, actually, it's not the default or maybe it's the default in VS since one of the versions. But I remember Scott Hanselman blogging about the fact that VS is not, but it was years ago. But MSBuild in itself by default doesn't do this.
VS is for sure, because I always see 4 MSBuild processes in my taskbar. But the command line, why not? Yeah. Try it and do it. Should be easy. Good. Questions about this? Noble, interesting paper on password handling recommendation from MS. Yes, okay. Read it, Sipke, and you comment on the issue to see what should be done or not. Good. Demos, Sipke? I'm sure you have a demo.
No.
What?
No demo. No. Did you
Nobody...
expect one?
I always expect one from you. Demos. Nobody has demos? That's fine. Okay, so I will show the update on Orchard 2 then. I'll show you some code and also some questions or discussions, topics. I'm sure Zoltan will complain. That's fine. I like to make Zoltan complain to trigger discussion. You will see.
I'm curious.
Or maybe you will agree actually, and I'm completely wrong, and I'm like, no, this is what he said, and I don't remember correctly. So last week on Orchard 2, I worked on authentication. 7 days ago, it's refactoring this thing, but I showed you this was for managing content types, raw content types abstractions, fixed row body part. Yes, we saw that. Improving field editor, improving whatever. UI for paths, whatever, just UI, server GC, okay. And this is when I started working on identity support. Okay, so let's see if it works first. Not sure. It was working on Friday, but since then I pulled some changes. Okay, at least it's building. It's working. It's a 404 because there is no home page. But if I go to the demo module homepage, this is slow because it's building the views and there is an issue with okay, so you see logged user none. This is, so I was working on identity, so logged user, there is no logged user, it's anonymous. There is the logging button and I click and I'm redirected to the logging page. Okay, user Orchard user, which is a new module, account login, username, password. I have a username, admin. I have a password. I log in. You can register a user, login. Now I'm logged in as admin, and I have the menu here, which is dashboard, change password, and log off. I will click log off. It's ugly because I don't know how to make it in Bootstrap to look nice. I'm sure there is a way, but so it's a button. So log off, but it redirects to the home page, which is a 404 again. If I go back to Contextual, I'm logged off, so it works. I will log in again. I won't log in actually. I will go to the admin, which doesn't require any authentication so far. It will change. Same thing, slow because compiling the view. Multiple views here. And in the code, if I go, for instance, to the content types module, here, controller, and I go to the list content types, as in Orchard 1, the authorization service, which is the one from ASP.NET Core, authorize async, this user, so the current user, and the permission view content types, okay, like an Orchard 1. So if I go to content types here, what is that? Oh, the link is wrong. Okay. It's looking for dashboard, so the link must be wrong. I must have broken it. Okay. Crap. That's fine. Orchard.content types. So I went to Orchard content types, and because of the authorization check here, returns unauthorized, which will be converted to a redirect to the login page, which will ultimately redirect to the page I wanted to hit, like in Orchard 1. So now if I do admin and my password and I log in, it will redirect to the page and show me the content type. So authentication works. We can create accounts, assigned to roles, log in, log off using, so it's current right now a cookie middleware only, which means the standard one like in Orchard 1, and authorization is implemented so that you can check for permissions, the same ones as in Orchard 1. Okay, it's the same, not exactly the same ones because there are stuff in ASP.NET Core that we don't have to implement, but that's kind of same thing. The difference being that this thing permission is now managed with claims, because this is what it supports in ASP.NET Core, but at the same ID. This is an extension method on the authorization service from ASP.NET Core, and what it does is just say, oh, when you want to check for permission, you just check for what is called a requirement in ASP.NET Security, and this thing will be able to be evaluated by authorization handlers. And there are currently 2 authorization handlers that we will recognize, because this is the same thing as in Orchard 1, which are here. Yes, the permission handler. So this one evaluates, so the authorization service will call this one because we are issuing a check on a permission requirement. So we just check that this has at least one of the claim type, the permission names we are requiring, claim type being permission. And if we have the permission that the service is asking, we say succeed. Otherwise, we don't say anything, because some other handler might say yes, it has the permission. And for instance, the super user handler is just checking every call to authorization async, and will check that the super user of the site is the current user. And if so, then we just succeed whatever requirement is checked. Okay, so this is exactly what we have in Orchard 1. Super user will have grants for anything. Otherwise, you need the explicit permission in your claims, and this will be ruled by roles, like in Orchard 1. What else? Yep. So this works. The Orchard user also. So the questions will be about what modules should be core and what should be, well, what feature should be core and what feature should be part of modules. And after I will ask you the other question. But let's look at what is inside this one. So we have the account controller for login, logout. This is a copy paste from the ASP.NET samples. I just commented out the things that we don't support yet, but that we can support, like 2-factor authentication, lockout, like you've logged too many times, you have signed in wrongly too many times, so your account is locked. Things like this, register a new user, which works. But it's extensible, and it will also support external login like Facebook, Google, and so on. It's just about deciding how to render it and how to make it features. But everything should work out of the box now. That will be easy. Something else that I started is you saw that maybe this thing, users management, just again as a proof of concept. So like in Orchard 1, be able to list all the users, edit them by, right now there is nothing inside, but by editing their roles, disabling them, there will be a search for that, actions. This button doesn't work, but the idea is that, where is drop down? You see approve, disable, send challenge email, delete, like in Orchard 1. So I just copy pasted what we had in Orchard 1. It doesn't work, but it's a mock-up of what we'll have. But yeah, that's it. That works. The two things. First, what I did for that is in this project identity, I created a user class, okay, like in Orchard 1. I created the user store and role store, which are the implementations for ASP.NET Identity support. Okay, you see our user store, our user password store, and so on. There are like 10 interfaces you can implement to support two-factor auth, to support lookout, to support external login. But I implemented them just for the basic support in Orchard and in the admin, so it's very easy to implement. But this thing here is a POCO, it's not a content item. So Zoltan, what do you think? User is not a content item. Should it be a content item?
No. I think I actually also had issues with that being, I user being iContent.
Yep.
So this looks good until now. If you have enough interfaces to actually make it a content item if needed.
So what I was thinking of, because why do we need a content item? Usually to customize what is in a user. Like I want my user to have addresses, to have a thumbnail, whatever, things like this. Okay, and this is more of a profile feature. Like a user has a profile. Okay, so yes, I could create a profile part and attach it to the user, which is what we have in the module in Orchard 1. But I'm like, well, in this case, let's create an Orchard.profile, a user profile module that will just plug to the user and have a link to the user. So when we want to render profiles or to edit profiles, then we have a feature for that. They happen to be linked to user and not you see? The user doesn't have to know about them, but a profile can know about user. And this is extensible. If we want to do more kind of modules or profiles, then we can do that. And this way we are sure there is no weird issues with being able to list all the users because they are content items. I don't know. So yeah, and we don't really care about versioning users either. So I'm like, it's easier to just think about it as a standard POCO and not a content item. It's still a document in the document DB, okay? And there are still indexes to query them, like this one. You can query users by normalized usernames and normalized emails to list, to filter and to look for specific users, but they don't have to be, I think, content items. So I'm glad you agree.
If you were going to say something like that, you could have users which actually control the site, and you could have a content type called people that actually has maybe the same information, but you definitely have security through compartmentalization to where the users who actually control the site are called users or of the type user. Whereas if you wanted to have a list of people for membership, you could have a class called people.
Yeah, you could always inherit from that. I'm not sure how to use that. At the same time, categorizing users is more like roles. You can is that you? There was a discussion on Gitter. No, it's not you. There was a discussion on Gitter. Someone wanted to do something like this, but actually, I think it's roles. You can always create roles for that.
Well, the only difference with roles is a group. So therefore, people would be a single person. And so you have somebody, of type people, and so, okay, or type person if you wanted that. But either way, having some sort of hard delineation between the people that control the site and the people that may be listed on the site.
Yeah, this, yeah. Orchard is not a thing that usually tends to segregate things into, if like it's like having a class or using a string type. If you have roles, yes, you could have the same kind of user in different roles, but at the same time, it doesn't prevent you from having it only in one category, in one role. So I'm not sure how to. So nothing prevents you from inheriting from user to have specific classes of types of users, but I don't know how we will use that technically. Like who is doing new, I don't know, specific user. I don't know. I'd like to see an example of how to use that.
Yeah, just if you had a membership list where, okay, you have people, or a list of persons, that are on a mailing list or something like that, but you would not want to have people who are listed on the mailing list actually have control or the ability to change something in the website. Therefore, you would have users actually have control over the website, as in a list of persons are just a list of objects like anything else.
Yeah, for me it's a role. Maybe it's a different way of seeing roles, but yeah. As long as we can make modules for that, you have to let us know that, yeah, we need to be able to do that because you care about it, and we have to ensure you can do that. But I'm not sure Orchard cares by default about it. It has to be extensible to do what you want, but so.
Is there anything that we lose by not having it as a content item? Because I'm not familiar with what changed on this matter in Orchard 2.
Yes, there is something that I thought was, so today when you edit a user, when you click the edit button, there are two parts. There is one for the roles and one for the change password, something like that. And if you don't have access to a specific permission, you don't see the role, so you can't change the role of someone. Okay. But what I intended to do, but this is the only thing I would imagine for UI composition, roles and passwords. Then there is a profile thing, but like I said, it can be a different module with its own view to add fields and parts to profile, whatever. Well, fields in this case, or sorry, a profile content item which will have custom parts and fields, and then you edit the profile. But then my idea was for roles edition is that this module, Orchard.Users, will have the roles editing directly. So when this user has a list of role names, by definition. So a user has role names, and you can ask for the role names of a user anytime. It's not the responsibility of the roles module to do that. And if you don't want any role names, that's fine. You can have nothing and handle it differently from another module. But in this case, then the editor of the user will be display roles if the current user has the rights to change the roles of a user. And change the password. That's it. Password and email. So it's no more like composing the user with a roles part and change password part or something like that, or to display them this way.
Do we actually have to store users here? So isn't there something with ASP.NET Identity or anything else that we can externalize this?
So yes, this is what I implemented. If you, so this, that's why I was wondering where this should be. Should it be in a module? Should it be core? So the idea is that you implement user store, and it does what it says. It stores user and looks up for user. Okay. So you can have your own implementation. This is a default one which is registered. So yeah, I could actually move everything to Orchard.Users or call it Orchard.ASP.NET Core Users, whatever, because there is a middle. Look at that. It's really interesting. So this iModule, in Orchard 2 lets you register custom services. Okay. Per tenant, if you want.
So
if you don't
just
want,
like in Orchard 1?
Yeah. But it's something from Orchard 2 because it's not AutoFac. But I use the same name as AutoFac. So this one will register every service that Identity Core needs. So in ASP.NET Core, you will say add identity, which will register all the services necessary. This is exploding the add identity method to just register the ones we need. And at some point we say, you see, add scoped, iUser store, our user store. Okay, so everything could be moved into this module. So this module will register a specific user store and whole store. And if you want to register another one, then you can do. So in this case, what would be interesting would be to do a try add scoped here. What will happen is that if you enable another module, which also does a try add scope, but first it will use yours instead of this one. So you could override when it's stored. Okay, and you can also, you see, define other services for role validator, user claim, whatever you want. So yes, this is doable. I'm still not sure where to put all the default services or to have default services or not in this module. But theoretically, you should be able to do everything you need. Same thing, I'm configuring the cookie options here in this case so that each tenant has its own options. The cookie name, so there is no conflict between tenants. The cookie path, so there is no same thing. There are no leakage between tenant prefix based on the URL, stating the login thing. So yeah, this one. So this is the module configuration where it's registered. So you can change it if you want. You can define custom ones. It could be, for instance, this way we could have cross-tenant store. If you want to store all your users using single sign-on, but for all your tenants, that could be a thing to do. I still need to check how to integrate with identity server, because that's something a lot of people do. And there is also middleware here, class, which implements our middleware provider so that we can register the cookie middleware. And where we will, other modules, other features in this module will be able to register the external login middlewares, like Facebook, Google, and so on. Yeah. So there is this identity thing, which is an implementation of ASP.NET Identity services. This is why I created a project, but I'm not sure where to put it in the end. It's easy to move classes across projects, so I'm not worried. And this security is about authorization, like handlers, the permission class, the permission requirements, which is an ASP.NET Core thing. Yeah. So authorization handlers. So this thing, I think we can keep it because it's cross-concern. This is valid whatever storage of whatever authentication technique you want to use. This is just managing permissions and authorizations. So that should be still there and doesn't have to be a module to be enabled. It can be just available with Orchard. Yeah. That's it. And so I want to expand the discussion on Orchard 2 here. So I didn't finish all the features. I could. I talked about it on the Gitter forum. I was wondering if someone wants to finish it so I can do something else, for instance placement, which is my next step after that, and at the same time if anyone wants to start migrating modules, because we kind of have most of the components we need to be able to migrate modules. We can, you see I did body, title, we have all the handlers, we have content parts, we have theming, we have data access. I was able to make list and blog post. So most of the things work. We have now authentication and security. You can use our authorization service and that will work. So if anyone is interested into trying to migrate a module to Orchard 2, there are some priorities like this one, if someone wants to take over this module and do that, or other simple modules, or just try to make a module to see if it works and if there is no issue. Also content types might need some love in the UI because it's pretty raw right now. You see a few lists and like before, almost like before, you see body, title, settings appear there. You can remove a part, you can add a part. So it's very simple, but yeah, maybe it's sufficient. I don't know. But yeah, navigation is working also. Well, I broke it apparently on Friday. I know, I broke it. I touched it. But we could start building some modules. So feel free to ping me. I might try to create a list of priorities that what we need to migrate. But I think we are in good shape to start migrating some modules. What do you think? What do you see it's missing? Good, nothing is missing. That's what I thought.
I would have a question. In the meantime, there went a lot of effort into improving Orchard.Framework and Orchard.Text. So there are some subtle changes that are not really obvious when you just look at it. How are we going to move these over? Because not everything, but some are still relevant.
So if I just think about the changes in 1.x, last one was cloning, which is easy to implement. It's just adding, because we don't have any module implementing all the drivers and the handlers right now, right? So we just have to implement the infrastructure, a new event for cloning. So this has to be done, right? We don't have background tasks so far. I don't think we have processing engine so far. So those are good comments. I will try to tasks to ensure that we have a story for that, but we need the same thing. Processing engine, cloning event. Are you thinking about something else?
I thought about the view engine, that it's well, not just the view engine, but everything related to extensions, that it supports multiple folders. And I know that there's this thing just for modules in Orchard 2, but the same thing is available for themes as well in Orchard.Text. There are some improvements with tenant closing, the retries, and the locks if there is if the tenant is restarting.
Yeah. So I see. Right. I'm sure there are many things we need to do. I'm sure we can do that in parallel to module development. That's what I was trying to achieve here, because you might need background task and processing engine for some modules, but we could already try to migrate modules without that, because there are kind of orthogonal issues. Like what my next priorities will be placement and recipes, but in terms of modules. Recipes is a module, but yeah, to be able to build modules, it's better. This, yeah. They are not done yet, which means that's good. They are just improvements in Orchard 1 because we need to take that into account when we do these things. Same thing, tenant loading. Do we want to do like you do the tenant recycling things? We just need to think about it, and do we want to do it right now or later? At least make sure we can do it later. Same thing for this. Do we want to do that multiple, not multiple folders for views? What is that for modules?
And themes, because I think for modules it's available already.
Yep. Okay. Yes, I think we should have a list of what needs to be done, and anyone who wants to take that with a with blocking issues like, oh no, you can't do that because you don't have that yet. Dependency graph on the features we want. Yep. No, well, because we have nothing for that right now. Thinking about it has been added to Orchard 1, we should also add it to Orchard 2. I mean, once we start building that, we need to look at what's the state right now on Orchard 1 to do exactly the same thing. Or to decide, no, we don't want to do that, or we can do that later, things like this. So what modules do you want to do, Sultan?
I will need to decide.
Too many choices. Yeah, and if anyone wants to work on that, I'm sure we could do a meeting explaining how to build a module in Orchard 2 and what works, what doesn't work, and just to bootstrap the process of creating modules. There should be enough material right now to build something. Questions? Well, no other topics? Any questions? No concern? Good. Well, it's time then. So just ping me. I'm on Gitter, email, Skype, Twitter, whatever. If you want to work on this module or some others, you have an idea, or there is one module in Orchard 1 you would like to migrate, even a small one, just to see how it works, just ping me. And if you have questions, I'm always available. Yep. And yeah, because my goal is to be able to focus on low-level things that will enable more modules to be developed, and also answer some questions like how do we do that, and to be sure that we are not forgetting anything in Orchard 2. Good. So thank you. See you on Thursday.
See you on Thursday.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.